Hi, I'm Chef Natalia Tarnowski, and I am an instructor and the catering director for Dorsey schools in Roseville and in Waterford, Pontiac. So today I'm going to be preparing a basic fresh pasta dough, which is super easy to make at home. It doesn't always have to be about the box. So what I'm starting off with right here is a pound of all-purpose flour, because for the most part, every home cook has that. Now, a tip to remember for you trying the pasta at home is when you are making fresh pasta, the humidity in the air is going to have a lot to do with you adding a little bit more oil or another egg into it, or perhaps not using all of your flour, okay? We're experiencing a little bit of a humid day today, so I'm hoping that this pasta will be the right texture in my hands. It should be soft and pliable. Okay. Now, for those of you who may not be able to work with your hands like I am right now, you can most certainly use your KitchenAid mixer or whatever type of mixer you have at home using the dough hook attachment. The dough hook attachment actually mimics the movements of my hands. Kind of kneads your dough. And I should have rolled up my sleeves. You may want to do this with short sleeves. I may not need to incorporate all of the flour into it, so I'm going to kind of keep it off to the side. And even though the pasta may look a little bit gray at first, when you put it into the boiling water, it is actually going to take on a very beautiful black color, nice and shiny. A lot of people are intimidated by making fresh pasta, but it really is kind of a fun thing to do. It's a great stress reliever, and you can make it very easily with a lot of ingredients that you have at home already. You could incorporate 3 tablespoons of a blanched spinach into it if you'd like, or perhaps some grated beet, even carrot. Now your dough should start to come together real nicely, and what you're looking for is to get a nice, smooth, finished product that we're going to wrap up in a disc shape and let it rest for a little bit, so all of the glutens, which are the protein strands in the flour, can kind of settle down and mellow out. Okay. See, so actually the squid ink is incorporating nicely, and it doesn't look like I need the rest of that flour, so I'm going to clean that up in a minute. Okay, get the gist. Okay. You want to make sure that any kind of big flour chunks are well incorporated. And for those of you who are looking for a workout on your biceps, it's a great do-at-home, inexpensive way to do it instead of joining a gym. And like I said, it's also a great stress reliever. Okay. So you can tell what I'm doing is I'm actually using the palm of my hand, and I'm rolling the dough out. One big difference between making pasta at home from scratch and buying the box already is that pasta does require a little bit of a dry time. So that being said, sometimes it's more economical, more convenient to just buy the box of pasta, but this is a nice alternative if you have that extra time. Okay. All right, so we have our nice smooth dough ball, which I'm going to wrap up in some plastic wrap right now and let it rest for a little bit. Okay. So now that we've let our pasta dough rest for about an hour at room temperature, okay, we're going to get ready to start rolling it out. And right here we just have a really nice hand cranked pasta machine. Okay. Some of your products at home, like your mixers, may have attachments that go into the top area of it, which will help you roll out your pasta as well. Like I said, the only drawback really about working with the squid ink is there's evidence everywhere. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to cut with my bench scraper right here just a nice piece that I know I'll be able to feed through my pasta machine. Okay. We don't want it too big or too thick, because we're going to start at the thickest setting on here and roll our pasta out pretty thin. I also did prepare just a regular basic egg pasta over here, and we've dried it out and cut it into a linguine shape. Okay. Okay, so it's very important to use flour when you're starting to roll out your dough. These types of pasta machines cannot go through the dishwasher or have any kind of contact with water, they will start to rust and the gears will not work properly. So I've been starting off at 10 and I'm working my way down each time just to make it a little bit thinner. Okay. God, really. You could also use a rolling pin, which most home cooks have, and most culinary students will get into their knife kits. Okay, it just takes a little bit longer, and since chefs are always in a hurry, we like to kind of do things a little bit easier and quicker. But of course, keeping it authentic and. And a very important thing with pasta when you're getting ready to cook it, be it fresh or dried, is you want to have a big pot of water, usually a gallon of water per pound of pasta. Okay. We're going to salt that water heavily, and we wait for it to come up to a boil before we add our noodles in. Okay? I've attached my linguine cutter onto here, and I'm just going to take this crank and insert it into the top. And you're going to see that the pasta is going to come out in long ribbon shapes. We also want to flour this up. Okay? The flour will not be gray. It will turn a nice, beautiful black once it hits the boiling water. With the upcoming holidays also, you may want to think about different colors that you would use. Okay? And with fresh pasta, you can either hang it to dry on hangers. There are special little dowels you can get, or you can spread it out loosely on a floured sheet pan like we have here. Normally you don't cook pasta to order. Most places don't. So they will batch cook their pasta and shock it in cold water, oil it up, put it on a sheet pan, and they portion out into 8-ounce portions maybe, okay? And when an order comes in, they drop that pasta into the boiling water to finish the cooking process and then add it into their sauce. I am getting ready to cook off my beautifully prepared squid ink pasta that I just made. So a great tip for big batch cooking of pasta is we like to pre-cook our pasta in some boiling water and shock it in some cold water, oil it up a little bit, and put it on a sheet pan. That way when it comes time for service, all we need to do is take the appropriate measure, dump it into some hot water again to kind of reconstitute it and get it hot and finish cooking, and then we add that into our sauce. So this is our beautiful squid ink linguine that we made. Okay? And fresh pasta only takes a few minutes to cook. So I already have my pot going with my water over here, and I'm going to make a very fresh and quick tomato sauce to go with my pasta, including some shellfish. So what I have over here to complement our squid ink, so we have some beautiful New England mussels. Okay? You always want to check to see that they're closed. Tap on them if they are not closed. Okay? If they shut back up, they're okay. If your mussel doesn't close back up or your clam doesn't, most likely it's not a good product anymore, so you would have to discard it. Okay? I have some very nice shrimp over here too with the tail on. Okay? And we do have some beautiful sea scallops right here as well. And these sea scallops are a very nice large scallop. The bay scallops tend to be a little bit smaller because they are in the bay, and the sea is a lot bigger than the bay. So on the scallop, especially the sea scallop, there is this abductor muscle that you want to remove because it can get very chewy and kind of unpleasant to eat. Okay? You don't really want to save it either. Okay? So go through your sea scallops. Okay? We always want to make sure that this muscle is gone. And we don't really use it for anything else, so, okay. All right, so I have some beautiful king crab over here already. Most of the crab that we do get here is brought in already frozen, and all we need to really do is kind of bring it back to its temperature, and I have done that, and I've pre-cracked it so it would make our guests a little bit more comfortable with eating it. As far as my sauce goes for our frutti di mare, which is a pasta dish that is the fruit of the sea, I'm going to make a very simple sauce with end of summer tomatoes. Okay, we have a nice, very nice crunchy green tomato here, a nice Roma tomato, and some of our heirloom varieties over here. So I'm actually not going to cook the tomatoes. It's not going to be a traditional tomato sauce. It's going to be almost an accompaniment at the end of it to give it some color and texture, and the tomatoes will release some of their juice. And into that, at the end, I'm going to add some fresh basil. We always add fresh herbs at the end. And I'm going to chiffonade it Okay, very French fancy term. Chiffonade pretty much means that you're cutting something into ribbons. It's usually a leafy green herb or vegetable. Okay. So I took my leaves and I stacked them up on top of each other. I rolled them up like a little cigar, and I very carefully cut it into ribbons. Okay. So what you see in front of me here, even though my dish is Italian, this is a very classical French term, chiffonade. Okay. I'm going to season it up. Some salt. Once again, the kosher salt. Okay. So I'm going to start off by getting a stainless steel pan that's kind of heavy gauged on the bottom, nice and hot. Okay. Whenever we sear proteins, we always want to get a pan nice and hot. Okay. Once the pan gets nice and warm, we're going to add a little bit of our olive oil. This is an olive oil canola blend, so it's not going to burn as fast. Okay. And you'll see as soon as you put the oil in, you're going to see it start to ripple up, which means that pan is ready. Okay. That's what you want to hear right there. We have our boiling water back here to constitute our pasta, and I have a basket in there so it'll be easy for removal. In this pan over here, I'm going to start our sauce going. Okay. What we're looking for on the scallops too is a nice crust. And any type of protein, when you start to sear it, you're going to see that it's going to start lifting away from the pan, and that's when you know that you are ready to flip it. I'm going to put a little bit of oil in our pan on the bottom here. And this is going to be a very simple sauce. We're going to have a lot of olive oil in here. We're going to have a shallot that's been sliced, which is very similar to an onion, but a little bit more mild. Okay. We're going to add some slivered garlic, very, very thinly sliced, because we really just want to perfume our pasta. And since it's a fra diavolo, and the diavolo is the devil, okay, we are going to add a lot of chili pepper flake into it. Okay. So I'm going to start with the chili pepper flake, and that is a lot. These chili pepper flakes really only start, you can start to feel their heat once they are bloomed in water or oil. I'm going to add our shallot. Going to add some of our fennel. And fennel sort of looks a little bit like celery, but it is an anise, so it tastes a little bit like black licorice. We're just going to kind of sweat that down a little bit and let all of the flavors from the peppers and the garlic and the chili meld with the oil. Okay. You want to be very careful with garlic, because garlic will burn, and when it burns it gets bitter. Okay. So now I'm going to actually add my mussels in, because we want our mussels to open up. If your mussel does not open up, or your clams would not open up, it is a product that is no longer alive, and you do not want to use it. Chefs love their squirt bottles, so in this one I have some very simple white wine. Okay. And we're trying to build those layers of flavor, so I always want to add a little pinch of kosher salt. Now, since I'm using this salt with raw fish that I'm handling, this salt will not be used again in any other application. We want to make sure that we do not cross-contaminate anything. And in this pan right over here, or in this squirt bottle, I have some clam juice. Instead of using fish stock or a fish sauce, I'm going to put a little clam juice in here. And we're going to put a lid on this. And you're going to see that those mussel shells are going to start to open up. Okay. Shellfish doesn't take very long to cook, and we definitely do not want to overcook it. A little fresh lemon juice in there. And I also have my pre-cracked crab that's been blanched off. See, they're starting to open. It doesn't take more than a few minutes, okay? So we're gonna let this open up. I'm gonna put my crab in here now. Because we just want to really heat the crab through. And the knuckle, there's a lot of meat in there. I'm probably going to have to edit a lot of this out. Okay. Wood on it. Okay. I've got my pasta. The general rule is about a quarter of a pound of pasta per person. Okay. Make sure that your water is seasoned. Even though the squid ink does have a little bit of salinity to it, we always want to season and layer those flavors. I'm going to add some of my tomato mixture. And some of our beautifully quartered heirloom tomatoes, and they're all a little bit different shapes. We like to think with shape and color and flavor in the professional kitchen, because we do eat with our eyes first. Okay. Let that go. Turn this off. Can you grab me those lobster tails, please? So our pasta, the mussels have nicely opened up. I'm just going to double check. All the mussels have opened up beautifully. Okay. And we have removed our crab. Okay. Nice and hot. Scallops and our shrimp. Okay. Okay. We do like to serve our pasta in a bowl, okay? And true Italian pasta, you really never see a very heavy sauce. It's something that we've sort of become accustomed to in the United States, but it really is about the beauty of the pasta and the very light sauce that you're making with it and the freshness of the ingredients. So just to keep playing with that freshness, I'm going to add a little bit of more chopped tomato, okay? And 2 different kinds here. To play off the saltiness of the squid ink and everything else, I'm going to add some caper berries that have been rinsed, okay? And that will kind of give a little twang and tart to it. And as always, I'm going to add my fresh basil that I've chiffonaded at the very end. Okay, it's going to give it a nice bright flavor, a bright punch. And then we're ready to plate. Oopsie. Need a spoon. And we're going to clean this platter up here in a minute as well. Okay. And finish it off with that sauce. I'm going to need a spoon here in a minute. Okay. So we do eat with our eyes. This is coming through the dining room in a professional kitchen or a restaurant. This is a great selling technique. Okay. The smell is ridiculous right now. The garlic and the fennel and the freshness of the seafood. I don't know why anybody would not want to order this unless they have an allergy to seafood. So. Okay. And now I'm going to add my beautiful lobster tail right here, a little petite lobster tail. Okay. We're gonna add our perfectly seared scallops. Chefs like to work in threes. Things look better in threes. Odd numbers. Okay. We have our beautiful king crab here that has been pre-cracked. We have our little shrimp. Okay. Now, who would not want to eat this beautiful black squid ink pasta with the beautiful fresh shellfish? Okay. Chefs also like to use white plates because white is really a canvas for food. And to add a little bit of brightness towards the end here, I'm going to use my rasp, which you can find almost at any home goods store now too. This used to be a woodworking tool, so a lot of carpenters had this at home, and now a lot of the home stores sell them for $13, $14, $15 a piece. So someone was thinking, okay, and I'm going to get a spoon. Sorry, I'm going to get a spoon that's not slotted. Okay, I'm going to pour a little bit of the sauce over still. Okay. I get a non-slotted spoon. So you can see this is a very bright dish. And I'm just going to take the zest off because it is a pasta that has fish in it. I'm going to we always serve fish with a little bit of lemon. So this is our linguine frutti di mare with squid ink. And it's Fra Diavolo style, which means it's going to have that heat from the chili peppers. And here we go.